Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen Existentialists. Welcome in, friends, to the Gen Existentialist podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And how you doing today, Bunny?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. My hand's hurt, coming off surgery, kind of doing that kind of thing. A little bit sore.
Midland,
fair to Midland. Fair
Yeah.
to Midland, as my Appalachian friends might say.
That's right.
So we're going to give Mega Wheel of Magnificent a spin and see what kind of wonderment she can spin up for us. And we're doing themed episodes now. So again, let's hope that whatever the topic is, it's something that we can squeeze a good amount of discussion out of.
And I mean, don't be afraid. Go ahead and poke your head out. Let us know what you think of this whole themed idea versus what we were traditionally doing, which was the absolutely random idea. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Yeah, poke your heads out, you turtles. Let us know what you think. Okay, we've got our topic. I think this has some depth to it, so let me hit you with it.
All right.
Should schools teach comprehensive relationship education? Not sex education, but comprehensive relationship education.
Well, if it's comprehensive relationship education, it probably does touch on sex, I would assume.
It will, but also just like interpersonal relationships.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely. There are a lot of things that schools should be teaching instead of a lot of the goofy crap they do currently teach. Let's be honest here, And kids don't need to learn about how to make podcasts, or they don't need to learn German 3 or whatever in high school, probably.
Well, maybe they do.
It would be great if you could learn about how to do your taxes, how the actual U.S. government's structured, Remember when they used to teach civics? Yeah. But I think definitely interpersonal relationship classes would be key, especially nowadays with as fragmented as relationships seem to be out in the world, with your TikToks and your Tinders and your Grinders and your what have yous.
Or what's?
The what's.
Yeah. Okay. I think, absolutely relationship training would be apt, and probably starting younger. Especially if we look at it from interpersonal relationships, because you kind of go to school, and that's one of the arguments like against homeschooling is you don't get the socialization. Well, even in school, sometimes you don't get the socialization. You don't get how to communicate with other people, how to walk in other people's shoes. And of course, I think when we talk about this, I think everybody, at least Gen X, our immediate thought is like the Walt Disney film strips that we saw on sex education in sixth grade, stuff like that, or high school health class talking about, sex ed. It's way deeper than that. I mean, that's an aspect of it, but learning how to communicate, learning how to work with other people. Yeah.
Learning how to work with people who you have disagreements with.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to persuade everybody to all think groupthink, That's a powerful thing that I don't think public schools are preparing students for when they get out in the real world.
Yeah. I mean, and let's use that as a branch right now, because you already brought it up. Like certain things in high school, especially, that should be taught. Basic civics. Yeah. How does government work? Because most of the social studies courses, at least when we were in high school, were geared toward history. Not all. I took a course in law and justice. There was one in world geography, things like that. So it's vital information. But I think basic civics is something everyone should have to have.
Absolutely.
To understand the founding documents of our nation, how government works, all those basics, because I think it's lost on a lot of people. They don't understand what the Constitution is.
Well, an ignorant populace will vote in favor of ignorant politicians.
Yeah. I mean, for example, like what the nation is going through right now, what where is the power of the president? What power does Congress have? What can and can't they do? Because right now it's just it's up in the air. Everybody's kind of doing whatever they want to, it feels like.
Well, that's something that maybe if you'd had an education in that, you'd be able to speak up more on that. You always see the videos of man on the street asking questions to random young folks, and I know they cherry pick some of the stupidest people they can find, but the simple fact that some of these people exist in today's world, when you have a block in your pocket that gives you access to information that we never even would have dreamt of as children.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for not understanding how certain things work, unless you just want to be ignorant. And that's fine. You want to be ignorant, good, but don't go around showing your ass on video, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. So basic civics.
I think learning how to balance a budget is a thing,
How to balance a checkbook.
Well, most people don't even have checkbooks anymore. They have,
what?
They do it all online, and it's all Venmo.
And you trust it?
Yeah, it's just good to know how to deal with your money.
Good
how to.
Lord, I mean, it's not that often that I write a check anymore, but I still balance things.
Yeah.
Twice a month, just to make sure that our outgoings and our incomings are happening correctly. Because
it would be great if they would teach kids about, okay, here's how rent works. Here's how rent control works. Here's how mortgages work. Here's how to get a mortgage if you want to go that route.
Yeah.
Things that, they didn't teach us either. And it was an education when you sign up for your first house.
Yeah. But, would you agree that things were simpler when we were in high school? Or was it just that things seemed that way because we didn't have social media, we didn't have the internet, that kind of stuff?
Simpler in what respect?
Simpler in that when you went to buy your first house, most folks, not all, had their parents that they could go to for advice. Mm-hmm. Banks expected to have to explain everything to you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there were ways to get information back in the dark ages. We could
libraries.
Yeah, we could read books about it, and ask.
Do you remember books, Kenny?
Learned professionals about things and stuff.
They smelled like dead trees.
Yeah, so I think there are more distractions nowadays, and it's easier to get caught up in stupid trends and online movements and virtue signaling contests and all sorts of things, instead of actually spending time learning some stuff that will actually benefit you in the real world, not in the digital world. So
going back to the original question, would training in relationships benefit in the real world?
Absolutely. Relationships, quite honestly, relationships are everything in a human world. Humans crave connection. Humans crave teamwork. Humans stratify onto all sorts of groups. You're either us or them. It happens regardless of whether you're educated or not.
And it's just part of the problem with the world.
Well, it makes life a little
they,
easier.
them versus us, we.
Sure, but that's been there forever and will probably continue to be there forever. You see that even in the smallest groups, stratification happens organically.
But understanding that depersonalization aspect and understanding just those words, the use of certain words when you're describing things.
And a nice thing, too, is understanding that some people just won't believe that way.
True.
And you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
You have to find a way, to deal with people who just do not see eye to eye with you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make them necessarily a bad person. That just makes them maybe not on your team.
Right.
Oh, no, stratification again. It happened.
Well, let me ask you this. From the concept of, because we're talking about teaching this in high school.
I think they should teach it in kindergarten and move your way up, basic concepts. Sure. How to be a friend, how to share.
And that would probably work
yourself,
better. Because I'm thinking about your average high schooler. Are they developmentally at a point where they're going to be willing to listen and able to understand and utilize the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, I think they would be even more, set to utilize some of it. When you're in high school, that's when you start having boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. That's when you're working, you're doing odd jobs and you're working with people that you didn't grow up with. You don't know them from Adam, but you're on a work team with them now over the summer. You're in a sport and you're on a team with underclassmen and, higher classmen.
Or you're in the back room of the TCBY.
Yeah, playing tape ball like some dirt bags I know
back in the day. There was more than tape ball played in the back room of the TCBY.
Gosh, no wonder my yogurt tasted weird.
Wait a minute. We had high hygienic standards. Let me assure you, my friend. There were no problems there.
So, yeah, I think if you present that kind of information in an engaging way, that even in high school, we were still little sponges soaking up new, cool information.
Yeah. Should schools be in the business of teaching? Because we're kind of straddling now into, into intimacy.
Sure.
And things like that. Should schools be in that business? Because a lot of people would probably say, no, it should be home, family, church groups, things like that. But what about folks who don't trust those groups, don't have access to those groups?
Okay.
Here's
where I'm going to sound a little more conservative in that, where I think... Yeah, because it's stratification again. No, intimacy is a tricky situation. I think high schools or educational facilities should teach basic biology. I think they should teach what sex is, how it works, how babies are made.
Should they teach putting a condom on a banana?
Not necessarily. I don't think it's really a place for people that will be teaching you trigonometry to also teach you how to suck a dick. I don't think I don't think anybody feels that that's a good use of their time. I think you can learn about intimacy from all sorts of places. And kids have always learned about intimacy from other friends. You learn about it from magazines and books.
But Playboy doesn't really exist anymore.
Well, nowadays the internet does, and that trumps anything Playboy ever put out.
Now, wait a minute.
It's true. And you can learn about intimacy from your parents, your family, I think churches play a role in teaching about relationships and how to have, a faithful marriage or a faithful union of whatever kind. I think you can learn about it from all different places. But as far as... Now, when we went to high school, they didn't teach us, dirty sex tricks or anything.
No.
But, our health teacher, Dwight Maddox, I'm going to name his name.
He was yours. I had Miss Brown.
Oh, okay. You had Miss Brown. Jeez. Yeah. Can't wait to hear your angle from what you guys learned from that perspective. Dwight Maddox was very much about STDs. He always wanted to teach us about STDs and chancres and genital warts and all sorts of other strange stuff, So we learned a lot of the health aspects of sex, but we didn't learn anything besides, put tab A into slot B or slot C, as it were.
Waka.
Yeah, I guess it could be slot B for some of you out there. But, that's basically what we learned. We didn't learn about 69ing and how to put condoms on and where dental dams went and all this other weird crap. That was something we learned from friends and books and movies and other things. How about you? What was Ms. Brown's perspective on that?
It was very academic. It was exactly what you would expect, and it was good. You learned the basics, how things worked, why things did the things they did. And, we touched on the STDs, but apparently we didn't go into the depth that Mr. Maddox did with your group. I just remember it being, like I said, the key word I would use is academic, which is what you would expect.
Yeah. Do you feel you were ill-prepared because you only received an academic education in sex?
No, because I had a subscription to Playboy from my sophomore year well through college and stuff, and the Playboy Advisor was a wonderful tool to learn about sex and things
Yeah.
like that.
I mean, we were also dating people and stuff too. So I mean, that was a thing. So
Yeah, so I mean, there were lots of places to figure
better
things
living
out.
through reckless experimentation.
Well, and speaking of that, give me your, if you've got one, single most awkward moment from your own learnings about sex and relationships. Did you have one?
I wouldn't say it was awkward per se. I was a very young child, and I was very, very dumb. I had a very naive view of the world where I thought, boys had a penis, of course, but girls, they just had their butts. I didn't realize they had a vagina as a young child. So I thought girls worked like birds, where everything came out of their cloaca kind of a thing. It's like it's where babies come from. They pee out of their butts. They poop out of their butts.
So the vagina was a revelation to you.
It was. Yeah, I was like, well, heck fire. Look at that. It's a whole new world, as Ariel the mermaid might have sung about. Speaking of, where do you put it in a mermaid? I don't know.
You pull. Yeah, we don't want to get into that.
Yeah,
here.
is this like an egg? Got to shower the eggs thing or something? I don't know. How fish work. Ask Troy McClure. So, all right. So that was my dumb point. And then this is like when I was like 4, 5, and 6 or something. I was like, that's how it works, right? And then I had an older boy that lived on my road show me a magazine. I don't know which one it was. It's a pretty foul one, so I'm going to say it was probably Penthouse.
We.
It could have been We. But, it could have been any of those. But he showed me this whole thing, and he was like, this is how it works. And I was like, what? I'm like 4, 5, and 6. I don't know. And it didn't really sink in. It didn't disturb me or anything, but it was a revelation. And I immediately went home and asked my mom if she had one. So that was a whole thing. And my mother was gobsmacked that I like, where's my kid coming at with this weird information? I'm sure that kid's mother got a phone call for what it did. But, I had no idea. I was dummy. How about you?
Single most awkward moment. I had my driver's license, and I was taking one of my coworkers home from work at TCBY. And instead of going straight to her house, we decided to veer off, and we ended up at Devou Park. And
like you do.
Well, just, we were just sitting there talking. And at one point, she looked into the back seat and made the comment, this car has a really nice big back seat. Right over my head.
I was going to say, that's green light.
Right over my head. Completely missed it. And we just kept talking, and I eventually took her home. And it wasn't until the next day at school, and I can't remember what class I was sitting in, but I'm just like replaying it in my head, and suddenly the Legos clicked together. I was like, oh, no.
You done blown it, son.
Yeah, I didn't even swing. Just
now she has a complex because she thinks it's unattractive.
Exactly.
and now you missed out on your opportunity. Good job.
And things were tense the next time we worked together.
I bet.
And I understood why.
I bet.
It was just like, that
Did you plead your ignorance in that case? Did you go to her and throw yourself on the mercy of the court?
I tried to, but see, she was also dating someone else. So it was there was that tension there.
You're making me regret getting ice cream from this place more and more.
Why?
Look at the shenanigans going on there. Fucking Peyton Place.
It kind of was.
Jeez.
It was a lot of fun though.
Man.
Yeah, from that perspective, Record Alley wasn't nearly as fun, except for a few very specific moments, times that we shan't go into.
That was your awkward moment was the back seat.
Yeah, like completely missing, strikeout looking, and didn't even realize they already shut the lights off in the stadium before I looked up from the batter's box and went, "Oh, am I out?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful.
The definition of out.
Yeah, it was terrible. What do you think taught you more? Because you've mentioned a bunch of different things like school, friends, pop culture, magazines. Is there one place that you would place most of your information, like early on, as you were starting to experiment with interpersonal relationships,
Honestly,
sexuality.
my first girlfriend was probably, I hate to say it.
Yeah.
But
I think that would be the reason for
learned-
the place for most people, actually.
I learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
So much. And it's a good thing. I mean that's it was a safe environment to learn too, you know.
Yeah.
Neither one of us made each other feel like we were stupid for fumbling around and not knowing certain triggers and such.
Yeah.
But you learned fast, boy. It's like riding a bike.
You learn fast, or you don't get a chance to learn much.
Yeah, that's
more.
right. You have to wear a helmet for the rest of your life. So, how about you? Was the Playboy forums?
That was a lot. Yeah, I felt like I came into things well informed, understanding the basic form and function of everything, the anatomy of the situation, and knowing what to do and when, how to do it and when. It was just the practical application that became... See, this goes back to something we talked about when we started this session. I'm fine once I've got like a rhythm, like an outline, like a procedure for everything.
He's regimented.
I'm regimented. Once I figured out, okay, this is how things work, everything's been fine.
Counting out time, just like Genesis.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you know, and that goes back to other things. Like we're Gen X, so like if I mention a film to you, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Girls sucking on a carrot was the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Phoebe Cates.
Oh,
that
yeah,
just,
of course.
Like,
I mean, that goes without saying.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High is basically a sex ed film for Gen X.
It is, yeah.
You could go back, and actually, since we're talking about it, from the overall perspective of relationships, if you watch that film, you get so much information on what's good in relationships, what's bad, how some people will try to use you, how some people try to play off confidence as knowledge, just in general.
Don't buy concert tickets from that one guy.
Yeah, don't go to an actual good source for concert tickets, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I got in so much trouble for watching that film at a young age.
Really?
Yeah, I was at a sleepover, and we decided, like, the person whose house I was sleeping at had a videotape of it.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Ooh, let's watch this." So we sat up in the middle of the night, all us boys.
Yeah.
You know, punching each other and doing the things that little boys do when they see horrible things that they shouldn't be seeing.
Horrible?
That was a wonderful thing. I talked about it for months afterwards, but, you know... I must have let it slip or something at the breakfast table.
Yeah.
My mom found out about it, and I was grounded.
What?
Yeah, I was grounded. She was beside herself that I had watched that at such a young age because of all the lascivious nature of it and all that. So, yeah, I was sent to my room to think about what I'd done, and I thought about it.
That's absolutely fine.
So, yeah, that was a thing. Fast Times at Ridgemont High got me in trouble.
Oh, yeah. I think it probably got a lot of people in trouble.
Jeez.
Okay, so back to one of the original topics. Is it something that should be in schools? I think our answer is pretty much yes. Basic relationship stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I think all sorts of interpersonal relationship stuff should be taught from the time you're able to, when you're a little kid and you're a big sponge, you know?
Yeah.
Like first, second, third grade, learn about the stuff at the learning level and pace of the children. Yeah. And then really ramp it up when you get into high school and that, because that's when you're really interacting with the most strangers. Sure. When you're in high school.
Do you think, and my guess to the answer for this would be yes, and of course I could Google it now, but I won't. Do you think this is something that's done in other countries? Like if we picked a few countries in Europe, like Norway, Finland, are we talking about something that any Finnish listener would listen to our show and kind of go, you Americans are so stupid. We've been... That's Swedish.
Oh,
that's
sorry.
Swedish.
Getting my nationalities mixed up.
They would be listening to this and going, are you Americans that fucking stupid that you don't do this?
You know, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to say European countries, but there's a lot more countries in the world than Europe.
Well, but I'm just thinking from a general perspective of what I've read and seen and researched about like European education systems, that it seems like this is something that would just be built in.
See, I think a lot of people, even in the U.S. here, you learn interpersonal stuff through playing sports or going to clubs, like whatever sort of high school clubs there are nowadays, You learn it through things like that, and that's sort of the subtle way of how they're teaching it.
But those things aren't formatted, and they can give you a lot of bad habits too, along with providing foundational knowledge.
Yeah. It'd be nice if you could find a formal education model that everyone would agree with. But the problem with the U.S. is it's so diverse, and there's so many different religions and cultures.
Yeah.
And that you're never going to find one that's a one-size-fits-all for interpersonal relationships.
But shouldn't you be able to? If everything we're talking about with interpersonal relationships is true.
In a utopian world, you should.
But think about it. If we're talking about listening, getting along with people, understanding sometimes you're not all going to agree, if those are the basic tenets or the precepts that you're coming in with, shouldn't that apply to every religion?
I would
and
think
every
it
background?
Would, but you see how certain religions deal with people who don't agree with you. I mean, you're getting on shaky ground.
Or certain people within the religions
it's
that
culture,
have co-opted
it's religion,
them.
It's, it could be anything. I mean, that's the problem. When you move past listening, sharing, building friendships, and you start getting into things like, dealing with people who disagree with you, how to have marriages, how to have caring, whatever, how to have sex.
Yeah,
the ground's getting shakier and shakier each step you take up that ladder.
Right.
So that's where it all kind of falls apart. But I think it's a noble effort to try to instruct young people on how to deal with people who aren't them and aren't their family and aren't their friends.
Agreed. And on that note, we will bring this episode of the Gen Existentialist Podcast to a close. If you've got thoughts on this, we would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Leave us a note in the comments.
Tell me your most embarrassing sex story.
That's really what we want. Your most embarrassing early sexual experience is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Were you ever as completely blind as I was that night at Devou Park?
Did you think girls had butt babies like I did for the longest time? I didn't think they laid eggs, but I thought they came out of their butt.
That's pretty close to laying eggs. That's true. And on that note, we will see you folks. Until next time, my name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
Have a good one.